Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Behind the Scenes of the Viral Murders. And don't worry, nobody's actually going to get killed in this particular video, not unless they do something wrong. That might happen. You never know. You've got to wait to the end to find out, though. With me tonight are most of the cast of The Viral Murders, and we're going to be talking about episode 4, parts 1 and 2. And let's start off, actually, by talking to Tash. Now, you've mentioned that there was a particular interview in episode 4, part 1, that was your favourite. Do you want to tell the ladies and gentlemen at home what it was?
Oh yeah, I love the interview between Max and Yellow. It is one of my favourite interviews because Max is being incredibly sarcastic and it's just going straight over Yellow's head. And he's being incredibly serious, which just makes it just that much more funny. I love it. I was howling on that interview. And it's Matt's reactions, the way, Matt was reacting to the whole sort of to all of my sort of questioning and all the sarcasm. It was just completely straight-faced, completely stoic.
And it is often better when it's completely straight like that, when it's absolutely played like that. So the audience know what's going on, but the characters themselves don't. It's a really nice way of doing it. This week really was, or this episode 4, part 2, really was a Yellow-focused episode, wasn't it? I mean, this was the episode where we plumbed the depths of Yellow's psyche, and something that will always stick in my mind is the line, "Is blue or black?"
Oh,
So, for the rest of the cast, have you got what were your favourite lines from this episode? Is there anything that stood out for you?
Well, I think mine was similar.
Yeah, I loved the line that Avadny had, which was, "Just because your penis is microscopically small." The way she delivered that line, every time I hear it, I cry with laughter.
It was good, and
I did enjoy saying that line, I have to say.
one of the things that we've been able to do in the edit, of course, is to kind of pull everything together a little bit. So the timing on all of these things, the sort of the comedic timing on all of these things gets pushed a little bit further. It gets a little bit tighter, and that always makes for a kind of a better episode. When we were recording, of course, there were sort of bigger gaps where people were waiting because of lag on the internet and stuff. How did you find actually recording? In fact, Matt, because you were in most of it, you were the focus of people's vitriol in most of this. How did you actually find the recording of those moments and trying to sort of time those moments as much as you could?
Personally, I found them quite a challenge. I'm not going to lie. Making sure that the line was spot on was just very, very precise with what you're trying to come across. See, what I love about comedy moments like that, like for example what Tash said about the interview between Yellow and Max, what I liked about it is what essentially works in every comedy around, which is you have that character who's being sarcastic and trying to break the status quo, while you've got the serious straight-faced actor who's just getting more and more aggravated when he can't get his point across because of the other person just being sarcastic. It was just truly, truly funny. It really was. I had great fun recording that. And yeah, I think in this episode, I think everybody's figured out by now that Yellow is a bit of a cock, isn't he?
He really is.
Minuscule, of course.
I'm not sure.
Small.
It's a very tiny cock.
I'm not sure bit of a cock is quite enough, really, to describe some of the things that he said.
I like how Red put it. Knuckle dragging shit for brains, I believe was the phrase.
In my household, whenever Yellow's name comes up, or Patrick, the voice, whenever Matt's voice comes up, there we go. That's when my wife goes, "That's the prick, isn't it?"
Nice one.
The mini prick. The mini prick.
The mini
Minuscule prick.
microscopic.
But of course, we also found out in this episode that that your character Dylan and Matt's have got a kind of a relationship, a friendship. So
A bromance.
yes, and we all kind of found that out at the same time because we didn't all read the scripts in advance. So how did you go about playing that when you've got to stand up for somebody who is being incredibly racist and sexist? How did you do it? Sorry, that's an awful question.
Oh,
but no, answer it anyway.
It's been done for years.
I played with it. I played it in the way that he had this feeling towards Yellow, and he couldn't quite explain it. He knew that there was some kind, obviously, that he could hear whatever he was saying was by normal society standards you can't possibly agree with. It's like, really, why would you even say that? Why would you even go along with that? In terms of the friendship, it was a case of that voice is familiar to my character, and there's obviously some kind of friendship there, and almost by default, part of him's going, look, stop picking on him, stop ganging up on him. He's actually all right. He's actually okay. And the other character's asking, how can you defend this man? How can you actually defend this vile individual? And realistically, Blue's trying to remember. He's trying to remember why he's defending this person. Actually, yeah, why am I doing that? And it comes from the past memory of who they were, even if you can't remember fully what it is. But that friendship has been with him since a child, when they were both in the same school, in the same class, but that connection was still there, even if they couldn't remember exactly who they were to each other.
And we found out quite a lot about Blue this week as well. We found out.
Oh, it's all right. Yeah. So, Matt, I've joined prick status in my household. Because of all this.
Nice.
So, as my wife
The prick
said,
pack.
yeah. A bunch of pricks.
Well, I hope you let Jay join in as well, because he's.
Yep, he definitely proves himself.
Oh, we're about to see the full
we have
prickiness.
Don't know what you're talking about. Don't know what you're talking about.
We have a full-on love triangle in the chat tonight between Jay, Demelza, and Evadne, and that's not something that I thought I'd be saying tonight.
I would be so disappointed in me.
This, dear listener, is a usual affair with this acting troupe, I'm afraid.
So, Jay, how did you approach? I mean, these are sort of every week now we're getting revelations about different characters.
Yeah.
When you do find something in a script that is new and interesting, and how do you handle it? How do you?
Well, it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know, the more interesting that it gets, it's just more fun to play. So, yeah, I thrive on stuff like that. Yeah, I really enjoy it. Yeah, so for me, I like playing a bit of a arsehole, as I can.
It's definitely there's plenty of arseholes to play in this particular.
So,
Yes.
yeah, lots of fun.
Oh, I think Jay's character will come into his own over the next couple of episodes. If I remember rightly, there's one that really you get a proper sort of green episode where he really shines.
If I remember rightly, ladies and gentlemen, this is our writer.
Yeah.
Would you expect me to remember the script? God.
Or expect me to write it and remember it?
I know.
A very
I barely remember what I did this morning. I mean, come on.
So,
Listen,
Demelza,
I have to edit it and proofread it, and even I can't bloody remember. So there you go.
So, Demelza, you're the other side of the affair.
I'm the dirty mistress.
How did you approach it? A40 that to the hotel, that kind of, yeah.
My character, kind of Orange, the way I see her is that she very much views everything as kind of a commodity kind of thing. So she doesn't actually see it as a big deal. She's just trading for something that she can get, is how she's approaching it.
And you did get something in this episode that you didn't really expect towards the end. You were gassed.
Yeah, gaslighting. Yeah, something that actually really came up was in the episode when I was listening to it was something I noticed, which is when well, at least I definitely played it that way. I'm not sure if it came across. Is when he said he had recorded me. He had cameras in the flat, like when I try and give him the ultimatum to say, leave your wife or I'm leaving you.
You freaked out.
Yeah, I properly flipped out. Understandably, that is quite the invasion of privacy.
I enjoyed
Although
it.
sometimes it does.
I'm sure you did, you dirty, dirty bastard.
Well, we're learning things about our cast tonight that I'm sure that most of them would rather have been left in some sort of box somewhere.
Yes, I think I understand
bed.
why he wasn't overly bothered by my having a girlfriend now, because he had the recordings. Something else for him to enjoy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was specifically why he kept them, I'm sure.
Probably. And another of my favourite lines this week, and it's something that was mentioned as we were kind of having our preliminary "Is everybody here yet?" chat, was when when Red actually does a swear.
Everybody suddenly says language. Yeah, that was my favourite line.
It's 4 episodes. We weren't expecting to split them into 2, but that means that there's been 8 weeks for that gag to pay off. And I think it's done really well. I think it worked really well. So, Avadnik, you've had to deal in this episode, I mean, not you personally, but your character, with finding out that somebody who you think is your husband is then also having an affair as well.
Absolutely.
What do you think about it? What was your takeaway from?
My takeaway was quite obviously, how dare he? And the fact it was so publicly announced, even though we're all privately in our panic rooms. The fact that there are a number of other people now who know that my husband has been unfaithful to me. I mean, that was very much part of my thinking in her reaction. Not that she says, and now everybody knows, but part of my I hate the word, motivation for the way I reacted was the fact that he was airing his dirty linen in public. Absolutely
doing more than
unacceptable. Oh, yeah. he was humiliating me in front of everybody. That I found very difficult to take. I mean, she's a counsellor. She really doesn't take to all this this nastiness, and she can't believe that this has happened. So, I completely agreed with her. The fact that she wondered whether she should kill him or not. It's quite good having a kill button,
Yeah, that
really,
is a dilemma.
It puts you into a really interesting place where you have a kill button and you can either kill the mistress or the husband.
Yeah.
Who do you hate more?
Okay. What would you choose if that was your option? Or don't you know?
Gotta be me.
Probably the husband, because then I would at least have the consolation of inheriting.
Of course.
The will long ago you
killing
sit
the
out there.
mistress gives me nothing.
Follow the money. That's what you mean.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any self-respecting woman would.
Something I noticed about that I thought was like kind of deliciously ironic was that she starts the episode almost giving like counselling to Blue and Pink to a degree, and then later on you find out what a horrible relationship she's in, so that's kind of like an extra layer of embarrassment on top.
So we have Ruth with us tonight, who is one of the only other people, between me and her, we're the only people who are in the episode. So how did you find listening back to the episode? Because you weren't even at the recordings for any of these things as well. So this is sort of brand new to both of us. How did you find it?
Well, as you say, I wasn't there, so this is really interesting to me. There's a couple of things that stuck in my head, and that was just how good Demelza was actually on this episode. Yeah,
thank you, my dear.
Being gassed, yes, you really got that down. Yeah, and then the other thing was the dilemma that Evadne's in with the button, and I was just wanting to add to that. I was going to say, as one of the recently deceased, I think I would actually pit the two against each other and then just use the button on whichever one remains. I think that's a plan to be moving forward.
It's not a bad idea, and we probably should have thought about that before recording it.
Right, we're gonna have to.
Or have we?
Well, maybe the audience can try and figure out who it is that Red decides to kill on the next episode.
Well,
Yeah.
or if that's the case,
who is going to die?
Do let us know in the Facebook chat, which you can find all the links to all of the Facebooks and the websites and everything in the thing below. Leave comments on the video, obviously, because it's great when you can do that. We've obviously this week we're talking about 2 different episodes because splitting them up, but that has meant that there's not quite the flow that we were hoping for. And I've just got written on my notes, shit, Walters. That's the only. That's the only note I've got. But this was an interview between Max and Pink. Tash, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, because Pink was reporting Mr. Walters for something that he'd done, which we do find out. We hear later on in the episodes. We actually hear what he did. He did something very bad because Orange isn't the only woman that he has taken advantage of. He is not a very nice man at all, and I think this is the beginning of where we find out just how unpleasant Mr. Walters is. So yeah, the interview is, I think, sort of Pink trying to sort of report him, and Max kind of cottons on to what's going on. Pink hasn't quite figured out what he's done. I'm just trying to think what I can sort of how much I can reveal, because it's like
you don't want to reveal too much. That makes perfect sense. Well, I tell you what, Max crops up a little bit more in this episode, interacting with the characters in their murder rooms. I don't want to call it a panic room because it's a murder room. That's more exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I learned all of this from Eli Roth. So, what was the forgotten what question I was going to ask right now? It's terrible.
You were talking about Max interacting with the characters more, if that's helpful.
Yes. So, why at this point did you think this was a good thing to kind of bring into that episode?
It's showing that sort of Max is trying to figure out what's going on. She's sort of onto the case, and she's essentially managed to tap into the killer's system. Well, she hasn't. Her tech team has, because she's useless with technology. But it's kind of sort of giving that sort of impression. She's trying to look for a particular character. I'm not going to mention who that is on this, so that they can help her, because this particular character has helped her in the past. And we'll find more out about that as we go along. So now is quite a good time, because we're about to sort of get quite a few deaths happening. And she's starting to sort of narrow in the net, as it were, to try and figure out who the killer is. And she needs the contestants' help in order to be able to find them and to essentially get them out. Well, not that she gives a crap about saving their lives, but I think she cares more about catching the killer than she does about.
She wants to solve the case.
Yeah, if everybody dies in the process, then hey, it makes it easier to figure out who the killer is, you know.
And we do learn this week that that Blue is a bit of a hacker himself.
Yeah.
How I can say, how do you approach that? But it's you know, it's very simple. How do you think this might go in the future, Dylan? I know we've recorded everything and you've recorded it twice, but
well, I think there's a couple of ways this could go. This is, you know, it could either go that Blue ends up figuring out how to hack the feed and escape, or he could even try and find somehow a way to get to the killer. Or is he in fact the killer? Because if he can hack, does that mean he has full control of computers? Is he just being a dummy contestant of the show that's going on? I think there's a number of roads that this could go down.
he's certainly got the skills, and he's certainly got the grudge against Kiltech, hasn't he?
He does.
Mm.
He
Well,
really does.
we shall find out as the viral murders continues. That's it for this particular video. Thanks ever so much for watching. Don't forget, next week there's going to be a new episode out, so do go along and watch that. But until then, thanks ever so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment, hit the little thumbs up button as well to like the video, and of course, click on the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Until next time, thanks ever so much for watching The Viral Murders. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.